Hi everyone, I'm Joyce Strong, host of the Totally Well Show. Before we begin, I want to give a big thank you to my mentor, coach, and sponsor of the Totally Well Show, David Meltzer. David is the host of the #1 entrepreneur podcast, The Playbook, a top 100 business coach, author of the #1 new release, Game Time Decision Making, and was named Sports Humanitarian of the Year by Variety. But he prefers to be known as the CEO who goes around helping people. Learn more about David Meltzer at www.dmeltzer.com and text him at 949-298-2905 to get notified when he is in your area hosting a meetup. Follow him on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter at David Meltzer. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the Totally Well Show. Hello everyone, welcome to the Totally Well Show. I'm your host, Joyce Strong. The Totally Well Show is a place where we get curious, ask questions, and explore everything to do with health, wellness, fitness, and all the things it takes to help you live the highest quality, most fulfilling life. Here at the Totally Well Show, we are seeking sponsorship to help us keep the lights on and bring great content to you, as well as all the other shows at the Groton Channel. So if you're interested in being a sponsor, reach out to the Groton Channel, www.thegrotonchannel.org, or get in touch with me and we'll tell you more about how you can do that and how it will benefit you. I have a repeat guest on.
Yes.
Hi, Kevin Palmieri.
How are you?
I am great. How are you?
I am living the dream.
Living the dream. And as you may recall, Kevin was our last speaker at Confident Women Consortium. You can find him at www.thehyperconsciouspodcast.com. You can also connect on Facebook with this very lively group called Hyperconscious Nation. It's a private group, and you'll get lots of great information there and connections. And on social media, where's your tattoo? Never Quit Kid.
That's me.
That's him. So welcome.
I appreciate you having me. I was very excited to be back. And it's interesting now that I know you more. It's a friendly environment.
Yeah,
I dig it.
And it's you without Alan.
Yes, it's interesting.
And later next week I'll get to do Alan without you, and
yes.
It's just a different vibe.
Different vibe. Yes, it's different. I enjoy it though.
Yeah, good.
I appreciate you having me.
Well, I'm very, very excited to have you here. So just so some people may have seen the previous episode, just to kind of go back to where we met. We met at a bar.
Yes.
We had both gone into Boston to meet Dave Meltzer, who is a mutual coach for us. And we met at Blue Dragon, and we were able to have some time to chat there and connect. And to see some of the things we had in common and why we were there to meet Dave.
Yes.
And from there, I learned that you had a podcast, but I also learned that you had a history of this wasn't always you. You weren't always this famous podcaster and international speaker. And so can you just kind of fill us in there?
For sure.
Yeah.
So I say this version of Kevin is an infant. He's roughly 2 years old. So again, by all outside standards, I was living the life of my dreams. I had a beautiful girlfriend. I had the body of my dreams. I was making 6 figures a year, brand new car, brand new apartment, great friends. But inside, I was living a nightmare. I wasn't happy. I wasn't fulfilled. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And when you're 27 years old, most people kind of have an idea of what they want to do.
Yeah.
So it was really scary for me to feel that way and not feel like I had anybody to go to. So again, I debated suicide. I was sitting on the edge of a hotel bed in New Jersey, and the way I put it is I couldn't stop the voices. They just kept going. It was just loud. There's too much noise in my head. I couldn't think. I just couldn't think, and I knew that I cannot do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. So at this point, the podcast had already started, but it wasn't.
It was more of a hobby.
Yeah,
then?
it was just I was hanging out with friends, and we were just talking about philosophical stuff that interested us.
Yeah.
It wasn't really, my focus wasn't to change the world. But in that moment, sitting on the edge of the bed, it was the worst time of my life, but it was the best because now I finally realized what my purpose was. I finally realized what my passion was. I want to be the person that I needed at my lowest point. And that's how the podcast has evolved. That's how me becoming a coach has evolved. Me being a speaker has evolved. Everything evolved from that moment. And that was what really changed my life. So that was 2.5 years ago. So this version of Kevin, the hyper-conscious version of Kevin, is 2.5 years old.
Wow. So in some ways, it sounds like you're really grateful, have some gratitude for that moment because it launched you. What were you chasing before? Like, why were you doing the things you were doing then? The kind of job you had, making the money. I know you were, you didn't go to college, right?
No.
So this was more physical labor that you were doing.
Yeah, I think that I've been working since I was 16, basically throughout. Like, I knew I wasn't going to go to college early on. Like freshman year of high school, I knew I wasn't going to college. I had no desire to do it. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I somehow knew that I didn't want to be in debt for something that I knew I wasn't going to pursue. I don't know if that was luck or if that was, I don't know. But I knew I didn't want to go to college, so I had been working a long time, and I jumped from job to job. But it was always money. I always wanted money. Yeah. So when I got this job, and the first day I went, they said, okay, we're going to be traveling down to Delaware. That was the first job I ever worked. I drove 7 hours with my boss, who I had only met once, and I lived in a house with 5 strangers who I'd never met in Wilmington, Delaware. First job I ever did. But when he said you're going to be making, I remember he said you'll be making $5 less than everybody else, and I was like, what am I? I'm making like $8 an hour? I can't do this. He said you're going to be making $45 an hour. That was it. That's all I needed to hear.
Yeah.
Because
so it's more money than you'd ever seen.
Yeah. And I'm doing the numbers in my head, like 45 times 40. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. I'm looking at $1,900 a week. That's what I was getting a month.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make that a week. So at that point, it just made sense.
Yeah.
And because I thought that would make me happy. I thought money would make me happy. I thought possessions would make me happy.
And maybe too, what you were doing was what you thought you were capable of?
Yeah. I think I was always looking for so I didn't have much certainty or security growing up. I didn't feel that I had that. That was what I longed for. Mm-hmm. And
why?
Why did I long for it?
Why didn't you feel like you had security?
Just my childhood. I grew up without a father. My father bounced when I was, I guess it never really, I was an accident. So it was never really like a surprise that it happened. Mm-hmm. Right? I wasn't planned. It wasn't the plan for that to happen. So my father was into alcohol and drugs and in a motorcycle gang. So he left and kind of tried to get back, but he always said he would be there and never was. Mm-hmm. So my mom decided it was best for him not to be in my life, which I'm so grateful for, because I know that she did the right thing. Mm-hmm. And so growing up, I always had this complex of like, why, we were talking about it in the preamble, why am I different? Yeah. Why does this person have that life? Why do they get to have like these nice things? Mm-hmm. I grew up very lucky because all my friends had really good families. Mm-hmm. Like genuinely, they had really good families that I was jealous of. Mm-hmm. But they always took me in. They always took me in and treated me like I was part of the family. I used to eat dinner and stay over there all the time. But I think subconsciously, I thought that I had to be unbelievably successful in order to get that for myself, because I don't know that I deserve that. So I went all in on money. I was traveling 10 months out of the year, sleeping in hotels. I would drive 7 hours to New Jersey and work an 8-hour day and then go to the gym. It didn't matter. I would do whatever it took for the money. I wanted the money. But I learned very quickly that that's not the way to happiness or fulfillment or joy. And when you find that out, you think to yourself, oh, okay, like this didn't work, now what do I do? And I think it's helping others. I genuinely do.
You think it's helping others because?
Getting joy from helping others? I think I think when you're at your rock bottom, lowest moment, and everything you've tried before didn't work, ask yourself, did I ever try for somebody else? Was I ever trying to be there for somebody else?
Oh, I get it. So you were, by helping others, you've helped yourself?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's bigger than me now. It's bigger than a paycheck. It's bigger than a podcast. It's bigger than speaking. I genuinely want to change the world. I genuinely, it sounds ridiculous, right? To a lot of people it would sound ridiculous.
It sounds big.
It sounds big. But they say if your dreams aren't big enough, you need bigger dreams.
Well, you know what Uncle Dave says? He says infinity.
Yes, Uncle Dave, I like that.
Yeah,
I like
Uncle
that.
Dave says infinity.
I think it's important. I think we all have a unique gift to the world, and I tell my clients this. You have a unique gift to the world. The best thing about you is nobody has ever lived your life. You're the only person ever who will live the same exact life that you're living. So that means you have a unique gift or experience that I don't. You're better at a lot of things than I am. I'm better at a lot of things than you are. Why?
Well, there's only one Kevin. There's only one
Exactly,
Joyce.
exactly. And that means that you can leave something behind that nobody else can. You just have to figure out what it is. And that's the process, unfortunately. That's the hard process.
Something just came into my head that that I've heard before, and it might move me to tears, but you have a Field of Dreams. You know that movie with Kevin Costner, right? Story. And I don't know if it moves you as much as it moves me, but at one point you had tried to be a firefighter.
Yes.
And can you tell me that story
Sure.
again? But don't, it's going to make me cry.
That's all right.
Okay.
I don't know what part, the fact that I didn't have the confidence to ask the right questions. I'll do the whole story,
Yeah,
but
do
I want to know what part's going to make you cry so I can avoid it. Okay,
no,
so
I don't want you to avoid it. But just tell the story, yeah.
So this was the last thing I did before I got that job, that super successful job. Yeah. I was searching for what I wanted to do. My girlfriend at the time and I were just throwing stuff at the wall, and I said, you know what? I think I'd like to be a firefighter. I think I'd be a really good firefighter. I care about other people. And in that moment, I was searching, how can I help others?
Yeah.
Right? That's what I was looking for, but that just wasn't the way. So I quit my job. I walked in, quit. They laughed at me. They said, you're going to go do the fire academy without anything else? And I said, yeah, I'm going to do that. I've quit 4 jobs without having anything else.
Yeah.
That's what I do. Like when I'm not happy, I have to do something else.
Yeah.
So I walked in and quit. They called me crazy. I started the fire academy with Uxbridge. So I was an on-call firefighter with Uxbridge, Massachusetts. I went through the academy in, I don't remember where we were, but every 2 days a week, I think it was Wednesday and Saturday. Wednesday we would drive out and we would have classroom and we would learn about different things, backdrafts and hoses and all of that stuff. And then Saturday would be our practical day where we go into the burn building and we put out fires, we do car fires. They put us in a dark room with our air tanks and they would literally like turn us around and entangle our wires up, and we had to do that pitch black.
Oh, wow.
It was awesome. I learned so much, but I also learned that that's when I really realized I didn't have confidence. Because I did really well on the written exams, like highest in the class, like top percentage in the class. But when it came to the practical stuff, I never asked questions. I was always afraid to go up and be embarrassed in front of everybody else. Like I would never be the first person to do anything, ever. Unless it was like physical. Like there was an exercise where you had to be on oxygen and you had to walk up and down the stairs as many times as possible, and they got mad at me because it took me so long. Because I was calm and I could breathe. That was fine. I've always been good at being physical. But when it comes to walking up and doing something I've never done before, it's never been a strong suit of mine. The reasoning behind that is because I don't do it very often. I'm not willing to do it. So I ended up graduating, and I'm thinking, okay, finally, we're on to something. I did this. I got this big thing out of the way. Now I can be a firefighter. So for those who don't know, when you're a firefighter, you're on call, or an on-call firefighter, right? So they give you a pager. And you're on call
Did you, by the way, do like the ceremony where you get the picture taken
my
and
mom
all that?
was there. My best friend Matt
That's
was
a big
there.
deal.
It was.
At the time.
But I think subconsciously I knew I wasn't ready. I think I did. I think subconsciously I knew I wasn't ready, and that's why I wasn't proud of it. So my first week as an on-call firefighter, they give you a pager, right? Probably 2:30 in the morning on a Tuesday, the pager goes off. And you get woken up from bed. I'm at my house. I run to my car. I drive to the fire station. I throw on my gear. I hop on the engine, and we're off. So there's a car fire right down the street from the fire station. And we get out, and they say, Kevin, hook up the 2.5 to the outlet. And I'm thinking, I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no clue what I'm doing here. And I'm just running around, and it's like a kid who's lost their parent. They're just sitting there waiting for somebody to tell them what to do. I had no clue what to do.
And you didn't know how to ask.
I didn't know how to ask because in the heat of the moment, they expect you to know. It's my job to know what I'm doing. And I had no clue. I had no clue what to do. So.
But they knew you were new.
They did, but it was. I feel like it was my own fault. I genuinely feel like it was my own fault because I should have asked more questions. I should have gotten out
during the schooling.
Yeah, during the schooling. Yeah. I didn't ask questions. I would never go up and do the practical stuff in front of other people because I was afraid of judgment. And then I learned very quickly. It's a great example of what happens if you don't get out of your comfort zone. When you're forced out of your comfort zone, you're not going to be able to succeed. And that was the last day that I wanted to be a firefighter. After that, I didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
Because I realized, number one, I'm never going to be able to get a job because I'm not confident at the skills. How am I going to go into an interview and say I'm a great firefighter when I don't know what I'm doing? So I think it's a tough lesson because obviously I invested a year of my life in hours and hours and hours, but I like to share that with other people because there's maybe something in your life you're doing right now where you're not asking the right questions, or you're hiding behind somebody else and not raising your hand, whether it's lack of confidence, lack of belief, lack of competency, whatever it is. For me, it took failing in the heat of the moment, in the most pressure situation, I failed, to realize, oh, okay, if I don't get out of my comfort zone along the way and fail forward along the way, you're going to be in for a lot of pain at the end. You get the pain no matter what. No matter what, you're going to get feedback. You either get it incrementally along the way, or you get a big punch in the face at the end.
Yeah.
And you get to choose. That's the beautiful thing. But I think I chose the wrong one, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's so fascinating to me about the story is you could have asked, even in the heat of the moment, if you had to. Nobody knows everything. And even in the stress of being new, and maybe you learned it, but you forgot because of the stress. Who knows what?
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, it happened the way it did. Somehow you knew you wanted, it was the job before the money job, so the money pulled you, but something in you wanted to help. You had identified yourself as a helper at that point. But that's where it comes to the field of dreams for me, like that magical moment where you said no to that, and then what you're doing now, which is so much bigger, has so much more impact. And it just is like in the scene in the movie where Doc steps over the line off the field and he becomes the doctor. So, I told you I was going to cry. So
I think I don't know, I think for a long time I thought I had an idea of what life was supposed to feel like. And I think that feeling was the feeling that other people were giving me. I never knew what I wanted.
Yeah, it's
I
a
wanted
common
what other
theme.
people wanted.
It's a common theme. In fact, a previous guest, we were just talking about the same thing of external, like we're doing what we think we're supposed to, and we don't have enough experience yet. And then as you gained experience, it kind of guided you. So that failure was actually something to be grateful for now, right?
Well, we just did episode 200 of the podcast yesterday, and we recorded it after getting off a flight home from Florida after being up most of the night. It was a long day, but
I heard your flight got delayed.
Yeah, it got canceled. It got canceled, so we had to stay over another night. But my takeaway for people was you'll never know if you don't try. You have to start. Yeah. And you'll learn maybe this isn't for me, but when you find something that you're willing to fail at and go through pain and deal with overwhelm and deal with pressure and learn new things and get out of your comfort zone, that's your thing. Yeah. And most people just haven't found that yet. You're not a quitter. You just haven't found something worth not quitting for yet. And I truly believe that. I've quit a lot of things. I've quit every job I've had, except for the one I'm at now. Yeah. Does that make me a quitter? No, it means
you're the never quit kid.
I'm the never quit kid. It just wasn't in alignment with who I want to be.
I see it more as growing. I don't see it as really quitting. It's just pivoting and changing the direction. That kind of brings me into something I heard your recent podcast that you did when you went to Toronto with Evan Carmichael.
Yes.
He's such a great guy. He's so smart.
He
I
is.
know. I love him. And he was talking, you brought up word, like everybody has a word, and Alan's was legacy, yours was resilience. Mine's resilience too, I think.
It.
Yeah, we have that in common. So, but Evan kind of called you out on that and said, it's not hard for you anymore doing, getting through podcasts, now flying on airplanes, traveling to Toronto, and all the things you're doing now, going to Florida to speak in front of, I don't know, how many people are going to be there? 500 people?
Yeah.
So, so that gets me to think of where you need to move to next to stay. Is that where you want to live, in that outside your comfort zone place?
Right. I think you have to. So basically what he was saying was at one point, doing one episode a week while doing whatever else you were doing was you being resilient. Yeah. Then you guys did 2 a week. Then you did 3 a week. Now you're doing 4 a week. 4 a week, so you level up and then you level out. We leveled up to 4 and then we leveled out, where it became quote unquote easier.
Yeah.
And now we're traveling. Now I have one-on-one clients. Now I'm speaking. Now I have a girlfriend. I have so much more than I had when we started the 4.
Yeah.
So I still believe I am leveling up with where I am. There's so much going on right now.
Yeah. Well, in some areas, I think with Evan's point, it was probably in certain areas now you're comfortable.
Yeah.
And
the business side, I think.
Was he nudging you to not be comfortable?
So most people don't know this. The reason we started doing 3 episodes a week was because of Evan.
Yeah.
We had him on episode 98, and he challenged us. He said, "You guys are capable of more."
I remember that.
Yeah. So he is a challenger. That's what he does. He challenges you to do better. And I think everybody has that word. Like for me, it's resilience. So I could very easily say, "Well, I'm doing all this stuff. I'm so resilient." Does that mean I can't do more? Does that mean eventually what I'm doing now won't get easy? Again, the first time I was on this show, I was terrified. But now I'm more resilient because I'm able to do it with a smile and I'm super happy. I was super excited, you know. I think that the only reason you're going to grow is because you're getting in over your head. The only reason you have to learn to swim is because you're going to drown if you don't. And I think that's exactly what he's saying. You might be resilient where you're at, but you could also get to the next level and then learn how to be resilient there. It just keeps going. Like he said, you're always swimming. You don't ever want to reach the island.
So, yeah, I love that. So resilience seemed to me more at the beginning a word that meant tough times and I can recover. And it's almost like you've redefined the word itself to be, it's your superpower.
Yeah.
It's a tool for you to burn the boats. You've always done that anyway, but to really purposely put yourself in a situation where you're leaning into the fear. Yeah.
I think that's the only way.
Yeah.
When I look back on my life, there's the common theme with me is I've always been able to handle more pain than everybody else. I may never have been the biggest or the strongest or the fastest, but I could always handle more pain than anybody else.
What kind of pain?
I would dive over fences in baseball games. I would always lay out for the ball. I slid head first. I just did reckless things because I could do that. I wanted to fight professionally. I love sparring. I love getting hit in the head. That's just always been my thing.
Yeah.
When we landed in Florida, by the time we went to bed, I had been up for 36 hours,
Yikes.
I think. And I worked out before I went to bed. It's just my superpower is to be that. It's just to deal with whatever is thrown at me. And it's not always easy, and I don't always enjoy it. But I think that's my superpower. My superpower is to keep going when other people want to stop. Because that's what I had to do. I had to do. If I wasn't resilient, I'd be dead. I would have killed myself.
Yeah.
And that's why it's my word. I might not always win, but it won't be because of lack of effort or because I'm letting fear take over. It'll be because it just didn't go my way.
I forget where I've heard a few times Will Smith's quote about he's willing to die on the treadmill.
Yeah.
That concept of, just everyday work hard,
Yeah.
That blue collar ethic yeah.
I thought I was going to die in Florida. I went, not this trip, but we took another trip, and again, not many people know this. 1 week away, before we left, I was having very bad panic attacks, and I had never had them before. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And I think it's because I had so much stress in my life. I was getting on a plane for the first time in 20 years. I was going to Brendan Burchard's networking event. I've never been to a networking event. I'm going to one of the biggest ones in the world.
Yeah.
In Arizona.
Yeah.
It's a 6-hour flight. We had all these podcasts lined up, and I had to level up so quick that I was having panic attacks.
Yeah.
So we got to Florida. We went again to the gym. That's a thing. After landing, we went and saw one of our mentors, and we went straight to the gym. And I remember I couldn't breathe at the gym. And I was like, maybe it's the humidity. Maybe I just, whatever, it's fine. So I finished my workout. We went back to the hotel, and Alan was taking a shower. And I'll never forget, I couldn't breathe. I just couldn't breathe. I couldn't catch my breath. I thought I was going to pass out. I literally thought I was dying. I called my mom and said, what am I supposed to do?
Oh my God.
Yeah, and she said, you should either fly home or you should go to the emergency room. And I said, I'm going to give it a minute and see. Because I didn't have insurance. So I didn't want to go to the emergency room.
Oh God.
So Alan ended up going to the store to get me some pills and some medicine and whatever he thought would make me better. And I remember I was laying on the floor of the bathroom in the hotel thinking to myself, if this is it, which I genuinely believe it is, then I did what I had to do.
Yeah.
Because what's the other option? I'm at home doing the old job I had. I was living at one time, quote unquote living, but I really wasn't.
Yeah.
And I'd rather die trying to live than live fearing death.
Wow.
So in that moment, I genuinely thought that was it, but it wasn't, luckily.
Luckily
now I know it's anxiety, but I was willing to give it all because I believe you have to if you want to change the world.
Wow. That really, drives home how much physically you were, had invested here, and how much it felt like a risk.
Yeah.
Because you're in your body's mind, your body thought it was life or death.
Yeah.
That you were actually out slaying dragons, or
Yeah.
yeah, and it is amazing too how you can figure out a way to calm yourself and get yourself back into sorts, and then change your thinking. That may be some stuff for another show.
Yes.
That we can talk
I'm all
about
about it.
habits and how some of the stuff you do. I wanted to have a little bit more time to talk with you about something I don't know that much about, how you do.
Okay.
And all the different ways you help people. You've helped me by setting great examples, by giving me information, by always shooting inspiration my way from being part of Hyperconscious Nation and just in our collaborations. And you work also with people doing coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious to know how, because when I look at you, I'm like, well, he must coach them in the gym, but I'm not sure, because I hear you talking about it other ways. So I'm curious what you do with your coaching, different ways that you coach people.
Yeah. So believe it or not, I actually don't enjoy coaching people in the gym. I used to do that as a job.
Yeah.
I literally paid $1,000 to get out of my contract because I didn't like it.
Yeah, I think I've heard you say that.
Yeah.
So my initial guess was wrong. So
Well, not necessarily. I do help my clients with fitness if they
Yeah.
want it, but it's my way. I don't have to sell them on it. Like, I'm not a salesman, a sleazy salesman who's going to say, look, you need to buy this $10,000 package or you're not worthy or something. That's not my style. But
so do you actually physically help people in the gym?
I will in person. A lot of my
like
clients are
personal
across the
training?
country.
Okay, so you do remote coaching?
Yeah, I do remote.
Yeah.
So it's mindset. It's peak performance mindset coaching.
Got
So
it. Yeah.
basically, what Alan and I have found, Alan is the co-host of the Hyperconscious podcast, what we have found is most of the people who listen to our show are either young women who lack confidence, or they're men who are unbelievably ambitious. There's really no in between. Most of my clients are young women who lack confidence. So my goal with them is to help them gain confidence the way I gain confidence. I truly believe it's hard to help somebody if you haven't been through what they've been through. I've been through it. I know how to build confidence, and I know how to keep cultivating it. Because again, it doesn't just stay, it's a practice every day. So I always say my goal is to help them break down their limiting beliefs, get out of their comfort zone, and become the version of themselves they want to be.